Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to your Monday night. It is JT the Redneck. Yeah, JT the Redneck. He is here with you tonight. Dragon Sully the Geek along with it. Actually, I don't have Dragon for this series. He's loving this stuff. Tonight, Avenger Pretenders is reviewing episode 4 of Daredevil Born Again right here on twitch.tv/accidental punch. So do me a favor, grab your favorite adult beverage or whatever it is that you want to drink, something to munch on, sit back in that beanbag chair and strap in tight, my friends, because it's going to be a fun little ride. Sully, it's all yours.
Oh, I thank you, sir. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Avenger Pretenders. Yes, JT has done his announcing duty. He is now done for the night. Goodbye, JT.
See you later. Have a good night. You're lucky I'm here at all.
Yeah, JT had some nice little weather issues going on over the last couple of days, and
yeah.
just had his power returned back to him about, 1 o'clock this afternoon?
Yes, sir. 19 hours. It went out at 10 minutes to 5 yesterday.
Yeah. So I want to say hi to everybody who's watching via Twitch, YouTube, Kick, DLive, Facebook. We're all over. And, of course, TikTok. Hello, everybody on TikTok. I know a couple of you coming in. If I don't get to see your name and say hi, I apologize ahead of time. But we do have a show to do. So we're going to get right down to the nitty-gritty because we're talking about episode 4 of Daredevil Born Again. And this week's episode was Sic Semper Systema. Yes.
You thought Semper Fi was good.
Yeah. Now, the ultimate question.
Yes.
For those that don't know, what does Sic Semper Systema mean? Right? A lot of people are like, I don't know. I will tell you. Thus always to the system. Always to the system. Which,
see, for me, it would be screw the system, but, that's just me.
Well, true. But in this case, it ties to the episode very, very well. Because this entire episode is all on the fallout of episode 3, which we saw the trial of Hector Ayala, also known as the White Tiger, and his murder at the end of the episode, where we saw the Punisher, or at least the Punisher's skull. So with the Punisher now being introduced into the MCU yet again, isn't it wonderful? Frank Castle has returned, my friends. And not just any Frank Castle. No. The John Bernthal version of Frank Castle, which, if you've seen season 2 of Punisher on Netflix, and then seen the 2 seasons of The Punisher on Netflix, you will know how good of a Frank Castle / Punisher John Bernthal is.
I think those may have been the ones that I watched way back when.
Yeah,
he looked very familiar to me.
Yes, but you like the Punisher.
He's cool.
Yeah, you've never really had an issue with the Punisher. You always thought the Punisher was the bee's knees, so to speak.
Well, maybe not the bee's knees, but he was at least a bee.
Oh, gotta love it. So for all you Marvel fanatics, hello. Come on in, have some fun. Let's talk about this episode. Because clearly, Hector Ayala is dead. We saw him get shot right in the head. And Matt Murdock goes to the coroner's office, and he was one of the first ones called because that was his client. And that he was shot at close range, but there was no casing found. None whatsoever. Which kind of makes sense for the Punisher. But at the same time, the Punisher's not really one to clean up his mess. If he's going to, have bullets flying, bullets are going to fly. There's nothing you can really, do or say about that. So,
Right.
So when it comes down to it, Matt's trying to find out as much information as possible pertaining to Hector Ayala's murder. And it just so happens that we get introduced to Hector's niece, Angela. Now, this isn't the first time we've seen her. We've seen her before. We've seen her in the courtroom and everything like that. We've also seen, if I remember correctly, I think we see her in episode... I think we see her in a later episode too, because I saw some previews where she does make more appearances, so to speak. So
Right.
She's around. Now, for those that don't know who she is, you will. You will. At some point in time, you will. Because eventually, as she gets older, she does become the White Tiger. She takes up the mantle of her uncle. At least, that's from my understanding.
Because we talked about that before.
Yes.
That 'cause you were talking, you said that White Tiger comes back, but much younger.
Yes.
And I didn't think of that the first time when I was watching this scene where she was down there wanting to see her uncle.
Okay.
But I thought about it tonight when I was rewatching. Obviously, I had to rewatch because the last 24 hours, my brain's gone.
And understandably so.
So I had to rewatch it. And when I watched it this time, I was like,
Something ain't
I
right.
wonder.
Something ain't right.
So you pretty much just confirmed what what I was thinking.
So here's what happens comic wise. Will this happen as this character gets older? Maybe. But Angela, who we've seen already, she is the niece. She is an FBI agent as she gets older. And she does inherit the Jade Tiger amulets. So that's when she becomes the White Tiger, taking up the mantle.
Right.
But that's the comics. Right now, she's too young. Too young. So it's all good. But she's going to play a pretty big role in this because now, one, she's angry. Her uncle was just murdered. So that's on the list right now. And not only that, but Matt gives her uncle's things, including the amulet. So we see this. Listen, Daredevil didn't do a thing. Now White Tiger's gone. The crime in the streets is just going to continue to rise. What are you going to do about it, Matt? What are you going to do? And she's also...
I love the old guy.
Well, before you even get to there, hold on. Before you get to there, the other thing is, she flat out says that the New York City Police Department is the one that killed him.
Mm-hmm. She walked
convinced.
through the whole thing.
Yep. She just goes, boom. They're the ones who did it because he got off and they're going to get away with it. And Matt does the one thing as a lawyer / person of faith would do is have faith. We'll find out who the killer is. Makes sense.
Somebody
Makes
will
sense.
find his killer, I promise.
Somebody will find it. Somebody will do it. Somebody. Well, clearly for her, that's not enough.
Wouldn't be for me either.
I don't blame her for it not being enough,
Not at all. I'd feel the same way.
So it comes down to what's next. What's next? Well, BB Urich, who we've seen here and there, journalist, up and coming. She's got a web show that she puts on YouTube where she's out on the street talking with the people of the street, asking people what it's like being in a neighborhood where there's vigilantes that are out there helping, like White Tiger and Daredevil and Spider-Man and all of them. But currently, she's out with her friends, one of which is Daniel Blake. Now, if you don't remember who Daniel Blake is, he works for Wilson Fisk, the mayor.
He's the young guy.
And they're drinking. They're having a great time. Until he lets
tequila and ketamine, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Until he lets something slip while they're drunk.
Right.
And he lets out that what was it? The Clean Green Haulers, I believe it was. And how Fisk had a meeting with them, or is supposed to be having a meeting with them. And their biggest thing is obviously garbage, recycling, cleaning up the streets, so on and so forth. But there's new technology that they're worried about that supposedly is going to decrease the garbage output. But they run the risk of violating union contracts. Crazy. Fisk wanted the ports to start developing this. However, and I love when I say it that way, however, he told the wrong person.
Well, I mean, he did like a lot of people do when they get drunk and tired.
Yes.
And, words just start spewing out of their mouth.
Yes. But the one thing that, and again, this is most likely due to Fisk's political life. And I mean that in a way of he doesn't really know much about the political life, right.
That's an understatement.
That's a big understatement, believe me. That much I can tell you is most likely true, because he doesn't know what to do from there, And the one thing that you have to remember in the real world, just like in a lot of the stuff that Marvel puts out, which is why I like when they tie things together nicely, you have union contracts, you have ladders and tape and all this stuff that you need to go through in order to do stuff.
Yep. There is a procedure.
You have to do what you need to do in order to get things working correctly. Now, with that being said, Blake accidentally lets it slip that he's got a way to do things. Fisk is going to do what he needs to do in order to get the job done. He wants to build up the Port Authority. He wants to build up the places that are falling apart.
The blight on the city, as he called it.
Which is great. It's great.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into a little bit of that in a minute, because for them, for Fisk anyway, him and Vanessa are still going through therapy. Only this time they're bringing up Adam, the adulterer. The adulterer, Adam. The one who was there for Vanessa when she needed him, because Wilson decided to walk away.
Disappear.
Is that what we're going to call it? Disappearing? No. He walked away.
Well, that's what she called it. You disappeared.
It's true.
You disappeared for 2 years.
He did. And it's interesting because at this point during the therapy sessions, I want to say hi to Christina. Hello, darling. Thank you for liking the live. Share the live. Tell your friends. Marvel, come on, let's talk. Yes, I know I'm wearing Star Wars, but that's besides the point.
Oh, my.
We match.
What did it?
You got the Mandalorian and I got Grogu. So anyway, they're talking about Adam for the first time in their therapy, and for them, and again, this is an interesting side because you would never think that Fisk would be doing this, but he does want to save his marriage with Vanessa. It's completely understandable. And while they're opening up to Dr. Glenn about this, they both admitted that they have absolutely no idea where he is. Now, at the same time, Vanessa kind of has an inkling. Fisk has got his poker face on, but he also admits that he had a talk with him. We made things clear and left it as that.
Right.
Now,
and, knowing his past history as well as Vanessa,
yes,
I don't blame her for wondering.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't blame her at all.
What kind of conversation they had.
Now, as any good therapist would do, once the session was complete, Fisk and Vanessa, who's also a Fisk, he's the kingpin, but we call him Fisk. It's so much easier. She flat out tells Fisk, listen, do you mind if I just talk to Vanessa privately for just a moment? Because of the interaction that the two of them had with the questioning.
Mm-hmm.
Heather flat out said, I can't help but get this feeling, but do you feel safe around your husband? And without missing a beat, Vanessa says that he would never hurt her. Which,
I like how she said it, though.
Yeah.
He may do a lot of things, and some may be extreme.
Yep.
But he would never hurt me.
Yep.
And she actually kind of, smile laughed when Heather asked her the question,
It is. And the thing with that is also, she's right.
Mm-hmm.
He would never hurt her because he worships the ground she walks on.
And that's what I was going to say was, he may have disappeared for 2 years, but if I remember correctly,
yep.
Earlier, and it was either in this, I think it was earlier in this series, the comment was made that the thought of her was one of the things that kept him going.
Yes, absolutely.
As he was recovering, with getting back to her.
And that is where, if you think about it, it makes Wilson Fisk more human than a monster.
Yeah.
And we know how much of a monster he is. He's the kingpin of crime, for crying out loud.
Right.
I mean, what more do you want?
Right. Yeah, I mean, what more do you need to say?
He's the kingpin of crime. Want to say hi to Deb and Megan. Hello, darlings. Good to see you. Give it the hearts.
It's the voice in the background.
Yeah. Want to say hi. Deb's my buddy, too. Haven't seen Deb in a couple weeks, but I need to.
Dare you?
Well, it's not my fault. It's not my fault, I tell you. But it's all good. Love you, Deb. Love you. So, well, just so you know, Deb, we are talking geek. I know what's different, but at the same time, we kind of need to. Tomorrow night will be a little bit different, but it is what it is.
A whole lot different.
Whole lot different. Oh yeah, whole lot different. So while that's all happening, Matt is still where he was in the courthouse, right? When he got a call, or was he? I think he was still at the coroner's office, right? He was just leaving the coroner's office.
About Leroy?
Yes.
No, I think he was on his rooftop when he got that phone call.
That's right. So there's a character by the name of Leroy. He's just getting introduced to us for the first time.
Leroy Bradford.
And Leroy has a little bit of an issue. And that issue is
25 pages long.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a big criminal history. As they put it, what was it? A 20 to 25 page rap sheet of offenses.
Yep.
And we'll get into that. But Leroy gets arrested. And he got arrested for stealing, and I do that in quotes, stealing caramel corn.
Fiddle-faddle.
Caramel corn.
Fiddle-faddle.
Fiddle-faddle. A box of fiddle-faddle. Well, because of that, his partner, Kirsten, calls him up to take the case, and, they have a favor that needs to be repaid. So he's like, all right, I'll take it.
You had me at pro bono.
You had me at pro bono, because that's what Matt does. Okay, Nelson and Murdoch do that all the time. Or at least they used to, clearly, right, due to the circumstances.
That was the basis for the starting of their firm.
Yes. And don't get me wrong, they made a good name for themselves, so they did what they needed to do in order to survive and in order to have a firm that was flourishing. Mm-hmm. So Matt takes the case, and when he goes and talks to him, he's like, why'd you do it? Why'd you do it? And he's like, listen, I didn't. I actually bought it. Which, if you think about it, he may have. Because you never actually see him steal it.
Right. But here's the thing. Mm-hmm. He kind of kills himself in his statement in what he says next, because his next comment about buying it was that he paid for it the week before.
It's true. He did. So
and Matt's like, well, see, that's the thing. You usually pay for it when you get it.
Right.
Kind of a argument that you can't really find holes in.
Yeah.
Unless you're financing it, and I don't think anybody would let you finance 5 boxes of caramel corn fiddle-faddle.
I mean, listen, it's almost like Girl Scout cookies.
Although these days they might.
Yeah, these days, who knows? Who knows? So the one thing that Leroy is asking for is probation, because he's got a rap sheet. He doesn't want to be in jail. I don't blame him.
He's not asking. He is insisting.
Yeah. It's like,
I will only take probation. Just probation. That's nothing else.
You
probation. Now go out and do your job and get me that probation.
You get the probation, and I'll do what I can. Okay? So Murdoch goes up to another character, Sophia Ozola, who we've seen here and there, but she's part of the DA's office. Okay? So we've seen her kind of like in the background, but not as a main speaking character. So this is kind of a, hey, here she is type of character, right?
Was she in She-Hulk?
Was she in She-Hulk? I don't remember if she was.
That's the only one that I can remember where they've had a lot of interaction with lawyers.
I don't think so because she's a New
No?
York.
Okay.
She's a New York DA. So
Okay.
I don't.
It just popped in my head. So
Yeah, I don't recall her being in She-Hulk.
okay.
I mean, maybe by like name alone, but
Right.
anything that I've tried to look up on this character, I haven't been able to find when it comes down to her.
Right.
But since she's working for the DA, she's the one that's holding on to the case because she's the one that is gonna prosecute him. So now we start seeing a wheeling and dealing going on between Murdoch and Sophia. And she's like, nope, jail time, no ifs, ands, or buts, no probation, whatever.
Okay.
But with all the wheeling and dealing and back and forth and the rap sheet that Leroy has, which, by the way, again, 20 to 25 pages, including but not limited to drugs, trespassing, panhandling, petty larceny, 4 separate cases where he failed to show up in court, bench warrant, and he was sentenced to 30 days in prison. But to add on to that, he also missed his SSI appointment and his benefits were cut. And the reason his benefits were cut was because he had gotten arrested. So he lost everything because of that. And he goes into full detail about this.
Yeah.
With Matt. So,
And Matt ultimately agrees with him because he's like, it doesn't matter.
Right. It doesn't matter.
And Matt's kind of like, yeah, I can understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. And for him, and again, this is just Matt being Matt, he manages to get it down to not just probation, but at least 10 days in jail. So even though Leroy is not thrilled with that, he still managed to get him the probation, 10 days in jail, and you're on your own. You're good to go. And after he leaves, he runs into Connor Powell again.
His bestest friend.
Now, Mr. Powell. Mr. Powell.
The cool thing to me about this whole thing was how he recognized him. Because he recognized him from the way he walked.
Yes.
Because he heard him walking before he heard him talking.
Yes.
Which I thought was really cool.
Well, as he put it, I'm blind. I have heightened senses.
Yeah, that was funny because that was in the dialogue with Sophia where, what was it? It was some kind of a Latvian holiday.
Yep.
And he said something about her stealing or snagging a piece of honey bread for breakfast.
Yes. Oh, he used that to his advantage.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, it's a blind. She's like, how'd you know? It's a blind thing, the heightened senses and all.
So, in a lot of ways, he's giving away that he has superpowers. Okay? Which is, in my honest opinion, pretty dumb but smart at the same time.
Because I wouldn't say he's giving away the fact that he has the superpowers, but he is accenting the fact that he's blind, so his other senses are heightened, and kind of using that in the banter with her to kind of get her off guard and be more susceptible to giving him what he's trying to get.
Right.
But
the other thing is, with this conversation that he has with Powell, he flat out accuses him of killing Hector Ayala. But see, now Powell's like, I had nothing to do with that. He's playing coy. But Matt's also listening to his heartbeat. Mm-hmm. And his heartbeat didn't change.
Yep.
So he had absolutely nothing to do with it, and he was telling the truth.
Yep.
So the question then becomes, was it Fisk
Who did
that
it?
hired the Punisher? Or was it somebody else?
Well, and here's the one thing that's been sticking in my craw since then,
Yep.
since the end of episode 3.
Yep.
Are we positive that it was the Punisher that killed him, or was it somebody just wearing a Punisher shirt?
That's a
Because
good
we know
question.
they're out there. We know the Punisher shirts are out there.
uh,
So, and then and a scene that's coming up is part of the reason that I'm asking this.
yes.
But this has been something that I've been thinking about since the end of episode 3.
Okay. Completely understandable. Cass just came in on TikTok. She says, "It was me."
Were you wearing a Punisher t-shirt, Cass? Were you?
And then she says, "Well, I'm not even sure what you're talking about, to be honest, because you did come in late, and that's okay.
Oh, it wasn't you.
Still love you." But we're talking about Daredevil Born Again, episode 4. Yes, 4. Sic Semper Systema. Yes. And how interesting things are. Especially with the murder of Hector Ayala, also known as the White Tiger. But he's all good. It's all good. And she says, "Listen, I've had 3 sessions today. You're lucky I'm awake." Understandable. I still love you. And I know what she means by that. But we fast forward now to Red Hook Pier. Red Hook Pier. And Fisk and all of his people are there. This is what I want to do. Let's do it. We're just going to do this, and then we're going to do this. This is the new pier. And he unveils this wonderful model of what the Red Hook Pier could look like. And if anybody's been to the Red Hook Pier, you've seen a thing or two.
It's a dump. And then some, from my understanding. I've never been there.
Right. You've seen a thing or two with the Red Hook Pier, okay? It's not the greatest to look at. But as his assistant Sheila points out, you can't just do this. You have to go by the rules. You have to do this, and this.
There's a procedure.
You have to take what you want to do and you have to bring it up. You have to bring it to the city council. You have to do this. You have to do that. You got to get the permits. But the whole 9 yards. And the first thing, and this, I love this, but this is how you can tell Fisk has no political background. Well, why not? Why can't I?
The line I liked was, "I'm not one for red tape."
Yeah. Not one for red tape indeed. And we know this.
I have to make a comment here, and this is a comment that's been made before in previous shows where Fisk has been around as the Kingpin and so on. But they picked the perfect person to play Wilson Fisk.
Oh, Vincent D'Onofrio is amazing as Fisk.
I mean, he is. When you watch somebody do something and all he does is talk, and it gives you chills running down your spine.
Sure does.
Which happened to me during this episode.
Oh, without a doubt.
They picked the perfect person to play Wilson Fisk.
Without a doubt.
Sorry, I had to say that.
So Fisk is like, all right, you know what? Let's do what we need to do. Let's go through this step by step. We'll do it your way. But then he also goes over to Buck Cashman, his right-hand man, by the way. And Buck tells him that the 5 families are becoming a problem.
which was predicted.
Hands down, was it predicted? With no joke, no joke. And that's when he pretty much says, "Well, let them kill each other."
No one gets arrested or dies.
You know,
He's not lying.
he's not lying at all. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Is no, you're right. You're absolutely right. Let them kill each other. That's one less thing that you have to worry about. But at the same time, that's going to bring crime up.
Yeah. And what was neat to me was how Fisk actually didn't say anything.
No, he didn't.
To that. He just kind of sat there and was looking off into the distance.
Yep. Looking off into the distance.
But he had already said previously to Vanessa,
yeah,
let them kill themselves off. One less problem I have to worry about.
Oh, and for him, it's big time.
You know, so
he doesn't have to worry about that at all.
Yep.
So it's like, all right, let's do it. Let them do what they need to do. Yep. Survival of the fittest is what it's called, folks. Survival of the fittest.
Or luckiest, whichever way you want to look at it.
Yep. Now, we already touched upon how, at the same time, Matt went to Leroy and told him, hey, I got you this. I understand. I know you're upset, blah, blah, blah. But Fisk is now on his way to a school choir performance.
Sorry. It's not often I can do that to you.
First and foremost, I love what they did with these next two scenes pertaining to Wilson Fisk and this choir. Because this was pure comedic gold in a very subtle way.
It was also torture on the ears.
For everybody, including the viewers.
Yeah. Especially those who have any kind of thing in music.
Yes. Now, while this... First, the song they chose is We Built This City.
I love that song. One of my all-time favorite songs. Well, it was until this scene.
We built this city on rock and roll.
Love that song.
I thought it was a great choice for them to use this.
Mm-hmm.
But while the school choir is performing this, and mind you, they're little kids, and you can see it on his face, Fisk is just sitting there like, oh, I can't believe I'm sitting through this. These kids are so great. And at the same time, he's saying to himself, I'm going to frickin' murder somebody. I'm going to crush their skull,
Outside, he was looking all happy and everything else, but you could tell by the look on his face that inside, he was squirming like a worm that was about to be put on a hook.
On the inside, he was saying to himself, I'm going to gouge out my own eyes.
By the way, that song is from Starship.
Yes. Big Tank ask permission to post? No. You can post all you want.
He's asking why it was in the chat room, and that's because somebody tried to put in one of those bullshit spam things.
Spam is no bueno. We don't like spam here. Yes. And of course, I want to say hello to
ask permission to post a link.
I want to say hello to Lynn. And there was one other person that came in just not too long ago. Mike. Mike came in as well. Hello, guys. It's all good. It's all good. But with Starship, was it Starship or Jefferson Starship?
Starship.
Starship? Okay. So it was before Jefferson Starship. Yeah. Blake sees an article pop up on his phone from the BB report about the information that Blake leaked out. And the union went insane. Oh boy. Oh boy. It was interesting to say the least. Big Tank says, by the way, saw episode 3. I loved how Punisher called DD Red the whole episode. We didn't even get there yet, but it's episode 4.
Episode 4.
Episode 4. We're almost there, though, because Fisk is at the point where not only did he go to a school to see a choir performance, but also went somewhere else for another choir performance of the same exact song.
It was a Latvian luncheon.
Oh my God, it was great.
I want to say hi to David, tuning in for via Facebook.
How are you,
he
sir?
said so far the entire series is not disappointing.
It's not disappointing at all.
No,
absolutely
not at all.
They're doing a very good job with this. And while they're at this luncheon, obviously getting serenaded by "We Built This City" in a completely different language, which, by the way, hysterical.
But at least they sounded good.
They did. They sounded good, you know. For them. And don't get me wrong, those kids, they did a really good job as kids. Okay? They were kids. You have to be nice to the kids.
I am.
Want to say hi to Courtney, who just came in via TikTok. Hello. We're talking geek. We're talking Daredevil, episode 4. And we're getting to the point where not only is Wilson Fisk seeing what's going on in these luncheons, but now people are getting the rumors. They're getting the BB report. And Blake flat out says, no, I got to tell him. And when this happens, all of a sudden Fisk is like, I got to go. Sorry to end this short. I need a moment with my entire team. And boy, does he start going ballistic.
I would too.
And rightfully so, because information leaked out.
Yeah, and I can't think of her name right now, but the lady's like, well, you know, leaks happen. Not in my administration, they don't.
Well, they do. Because, as we stated from the beginning of the episode, Blake was drunk. And since Blake was drunk, whoopsie, the leak happened.
It just kind of slipped out.
Now, I will admit, I thought he took the news very well. Especially when Blake flat out said, no, this was my fault. I'm taking responsibility for it. I will understand if you want my resignation right now. The whole 9 yards. But no matter what, I will continue to support you.
Yeah. That was a hell of a speech.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a hell of a speech. And, you know, the biggest thing, and this came across to Fisk as well, he's taking responsibility for what he did.
Yeah.
Willing to accept the punishment, understanding that he deserves the punishment and everything. And like you said, even though if he's out, he will still support him and do everything that he can from afar.
Absolutely.
And you can see the change on Fisk's face as he's saying these things, like, wow, I have never seen this in a person.
So the one thing you got to remember about Fisk, he comes from a background with a mob mentality.
Yeah, oh, no doubt.
And because of that, he's flat out impressed by the loyalty. So he decides, you know, I'm not going to fire you. You're good. However, that's it. No more
This
mistakes.
was the line that made me have to say the thing about him being the perfect person.
Yep.
For this role, because he puts his hand on his shoulder and says, "But understand, if you ever do this again,
Yep.
it will be the last thing that you do."
Also known as, you're going to die. And
Especially when those words come from Fisk.
And they're not going to find your body. You're going to die.
But like I said, when he said that, I got chills up and down my spine.
Absolutely. Now, Big Tank says at least he stood up and was willing to accept the punishment. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. He looked Fisk right in the eye and said, no, it was me. Here's how it happened. I was drunk and probably on drugs too.
And if I'm being honest, a little bit of ketamine.
Yep. A little bit.
Was the line.
Yep. So as that leak is going on and now they have to do damage control, Matt is on the hunt. And he's on the hunt for the bullet that killed Hector Ayala.
Oh, the casing.
Yep. Dave says that Vincent D'Onofrio is the man. Watching him try not to cross back into the Kingpin mentality was great. Yes. We'll leave it at that. Yes.
Well, did you notice the look on the lady's face?
Rivera? Yeah.
Because during this little bit, they went from focused on Kingpin and Bradley and focused into her.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And the look on her face, and she was like, "Oh,
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I believe the look that you're referring to is this one here, because I do have it. Haha. I do. I have it, folks. This was the look that you're referring to, where she's like, and to be honest, this was a great camera angle.
Yeah.
It really was. It was a great camera angle because she was just a little bit out of focus, but not enough to completely get rid of her from the background. And yes, you were still focused on Fisk and Blake, but look at the look on her face. That's the look of, oh shit, he's gonna kill him.
Well, David nailed it perfectly. One, she didn't know what to say, and two, she didn't know if she should run away or stay there.
True, but at the same time, she was told to stay there. She was.
Well, I mean, at this point, she's shit, can I run away?
Yeah. Now, and just to add to this, this is what I love, and again, when it comes to the casting that Marvel does for these characters, holy crap, are they like awesome when it comes down
They have
to
been dead on for these last couple of series.
They really have. And the one thing that I will say is that what's his name there? Michael Gandolfini. First of all, looks just like his father. Looks just like James Gandolfini. But he also sounds like him. His younger mannerisms, all that good stuff. He is a Gandolfini. And I really think this is going to have, this is his time to shine. Yeah, they did it, he portrayed him in The Many Saints of Newark, but I really think this is his time to shine. I really do.
Starting to make a name for himself instead of using the family name.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hands down, without a doubt. And it's working. So, as we're going through, I want to say hi to Jenna, my buddy. Love you, Jenna. How's it going, buddy? We're talking geek. It's Monday. It's geek night. We do the geek stuff on Mondays. It's wonderful. Thank you for liking the live, darling. I do appreciate it. So we have Matt Murdock now looking for the Punisher. And the reason is because he knows. He knows it was Frank Castle. Can't find it? Come on. So he gets to the scene of the crime of where Hector Ayala was shot. And he tries to imagine everything in his head and where things could potentially fall. And he does eventually find the bullet casing with the Punisher logo on it.
I think it was neat how he rolled the empty vodka bottle.
Yes, and just let it...
little airplane bottle
just let
down
it,
the street and listened to it and followed it.
Yep. Well, because you got to remember, even though he's blind, yes, he can hear, but he can also see with like sonar capability.
Right.
So it helps because now all the sound is bouncing off everything. When he finally finds him, he takes the bullet casing and places it down on a counter, and they start having a conversation. And to Big Tank's point on Twitch, I also love that he called him Red the entire time. Because he knows who he is. Now, the other thing is, Frank also said he didn't do it. But he did suggest that there is a police officer that is idolizing the Punisher. Now, if you had paid attention to the second episode, one of the police officers in the courtroom in the third episode actually had a Punisher tattoo on the side of his neck.
And a couple of them.
There were a couple of them.
Yeah. David says that that scene made him cry.
This scene alone was an amazing scene. And for those that just saw JT's camera shake, it was not an earthquake. It was the cat.
Yes.
And the cat is
Would
still
you please get down,
shaking the camera. This scene really puts Frank Castle in the forefront because Matt's ready to like rip him a new one. Because Matt knows from previous dealings with season 2 of Daredevil that the Punisher's going to do what the Punisher needs to do. There's one thing that the Punisher won't do, though. The one thing he won't do is murder somebody in cold blood who is a hero. Now, if you don't believe me, go back and read the original Civil War storyline comic where Frank Castle killed a villain because the villain chose the side he was on. Captain America beat the living shit out of him, and he not once raised a fist to Captain America. Not once. Because
David says, or innocent.
Yep, or innocent. So for him,
and Hector Ayala falls into both of those categories.
Yeah, absolutely.
Real quick, I do want to say hi to Jonesy Girl who's joined us in the chat room.
Jonesy, hello, darling. How are you, dear? Good to see you. Love you. Miss you. I do. Hopefully all is well. Now, Jenna, thank you for the finger hearts. Love it. Thank you, darling. On TikTok.
For a second there, I thought you said thank you for the finger.
Do they have an emoji like that on TikTok? We'll have to look.
I don't know.
We'll have to look. That'd be great. Here's the bird. Enjoy.
A one finger salute.
Ha ha ha. Yay. Oh, she's a new mom to almost 7 weeks old kid. You know what? You need to join us tomorrow so we can talk about that.
Yes.
Welcome to our world, dear. Now, the other thing with this scene is Castle kind of sees right through Matt to the point of, listen, I don't think you came here to, one, rip me a new asshole, or two, blame me. You came here for my permission. And I loved that line because, again, his best friend was murdered. Okay. Matt failed to save him. And Frank knows all about that. But he also
Say
says
his name.
He also says, you know, you haven't even said his name.
Say his name.
And the
Powerful line.
fact that Frank flat out told him, dude, say his name. Say it. And then he tells him, and one, first of all, the on-screen chemistry between John Bernthal and Charlie Cox is amazing. The two of them work so well together that even when they're talking about Foggy and him saying, no, you came here for my permission for you to go back out there and be Daredevil again. You didn't come here to bash me. You didn't come here to take me in. You want my permission. The guilt is eating you alive. And then he tells him, listen, I know what it's like. I know what it's like because I hear my son's voice every single day. And that's why I do what I do. And then he starts talking about how the system was great. The system did what it needed to do with Bullseye. He got life in prison. And Castle flat out said, bullshit.
Did Foggy get life?
Right.
This
Flat out-
conversation had more powerful lines in it than the entire show up to this point.
Hands down. Big Tank says John Bernthal almost didn't come back. So there's a lot more to what you're thinking, Big Tank. We can talk about that, but not right now. Because there is more to that story and production and all that. And there's a whole big thing. Okay. But
We're running out of time.
yeah, we are running out of time. So that was more for the Punisher. And again, this episode was really all just a guest star for him. It was a cameo. We knew it was going to be that way. He has a bigger role supposedly later on, but this was the episode for the turning point of the series to flat out get them to know we have to get somebody back in here because the original actor who played White Tiger died. So we have to make this a part of the story. Let's make it a part of the story. Who are you going to bring in that has one of the worst backstories for a character development ever? You can't use Thor because Thor had everything in the world and lost everything up until Infinity War. Okay.
Once they had a first-time chatter, NY Slew.
Oh, I know who that is. Hi, Dave.
So John Bernthal is the perfect cast for that role.
He really is. He is.
Been
But
saying that a lot about a lot of the characters in the show.
but the thing is, They needed that character who had lost everything to become the character that he is. And that was why they brought him in. Because they needed to tie the stories together. They needed to bring Matt Murdock back to the, you know what, I can't just keep Daredevil in a closet somewhere. You can't.
And, you know, there's a possibility if you think about it, and we can expound on this a little bit here in just a few minutes,
Yep.
but even though Frank didn't give him permission,
Sure he did.
I think the confrontation between them in Matt's mind made it okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely, because the Punisher, I mean, first of all, former CIA, Black Op military, you name it, the Punisher lost everything to become the Punisher. And now he takes out the bad. Okay? Now he takes out the bad. But that was more of, you do what you need to do. Stop hiding. You know who you are. Put on the gear and go do what you need to do.
I loved how he screamed that, you know, the system did justice.
Yep.
He's talking about Bullseye being put in jail.
Sure.
You know, and that was his reason for stopping.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, he put the person who killed his best friend in jail.
Yep. Absolutely.
Doesn't need to do anything else. He needs just to let it go from there.
Yeah.
And then this confrontation with the Punisher and Punisher telling him, say his name, you know, and how Matt talked about what kind of person Foggy was.
Yeah.
You know, and the fact that neither one of them could live an entire lifetime of doing good deeds and never be anything close to what Foggy was.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, that's why I say this is one of the most powerful scenes that we've seen in the entire series so far.
And it's a turning point. It's a huge
You know.
turning point.
Yeah, very powerful.
Because not only do we have that happening, and again, this is, Matt needs to forgive himself for not being able to save Foggy, but at the same time, he also has to accept what happened. And yeah, in some ways he's accepted it, but in others, he's pissed.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Oh, yeah.
Daredevil is what got his best friend killed.
Well, you literally see Matt cry in this scene.
Oh, yeah, and it was amazing.
Tears rolling down his face. Now, Big Tank made the comment that the Hollywood strike benefited Daredevil.
Yes, it did.
And that Barenthal rewrote his part to benefit Daredevil.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The good thing about these actors is they know the characters that they've played, so they can say, no, this is bullshit or it's not. Right. That's the beauty of it. And, you know, obviously Kevin Feige has final say with all of it, but it's working. It is working
But it's
so
good
well.
that he gives them the ability to do that.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, as far as I know, a lot of producers and a lot of directors won't do that.
Right. Now,
You know, whereas if you're somebody who knows what you're doing, you listen to what your actors have to say, especially if they're experienced actors in the role that they're doing.
yes. Now,
You know?
Now, again, when it comes down to this, and this is a combination of everything that's going on, okay? Because now we have Matt, again, forgiveness. He needs to forgive himself for everything that's going on. And then we turn things around to the dinner with Fisk and Vanessa, where Fisk flat out asks her, Dr. Glenn asked if you were safe around me, and she said, yeah, that's exactly what it was. They have no secrets aside from the affair, but even she brought up the affair. She was honest with him.
And he's like, I thought so.
And he even said that it's okay. And then he starts going into his upbringing and his father never taught him about forgiveness. So his father is the reason that Fisk is the way he is. We know this from Echo. We know that he basically, abused him as a kid. Okay? He doesn't know how to forgive. He doesn't know how to forget. Completely understandable.
Mm-hmm. Told him everything but.
But he also said, even though I'm struggling with this, I'm trying to do the best I can to be the person that I'm supposed to be for you and for the city. Complete role reversal, but he's working on it. And even Vanessa admits, oh, by the way, I am no longer the woman that you think I am or that you knew before. And without missing a beat, and this is how you know Fisk is human, this entire part, okay, he flat out tells her that he loves her no matter what. Because when she said, I'm no longer the person you knew, he says, no, you're not. You're more extraordinary than before. And I went, ho, someone's getting laid tonight. Because what woman wouldn't want to hear that?
Right.
What woman wouldn't want to hear that? That's the biggest thing,
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing is, okay, yeah, absolutely. Now, while that's happening, good old Leroy Bradford, is off to Rikers Island for petty theft. Okay? Matt and Heather are talking about that. And Matt starts to open up about some things. Some things that he's fighting off. Some things that he needs to deal with. A crisis, like an internal crisis for him. And she says, okay, well, what about your day? How bad was it?
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me. Open up.
That's a loaded question.
It's a very loaded question. But at the same time, as the boyfriend, she's there for him, which is good. And they end up,
girlfriend.
They end up having sex, which, like I said, somebody was getting laid tonight. Whether it was Fisk and Vanessa or Matt and Heather, who knows? But we know it was them because they at least show the beginning workings of it. They don't, and this is what I love about, like, most shows now, obviously you're going to see the details of this. You don't need to show all the details. And in order to do what they need to do, this is a very violent show to begin with. I thought that transition was perfect because you don't need to show them having sex. You don't.
Yeah.
You can lead up to it. Absolutely. Which is what they did. Now, the other thing is Matt has such a hard time sleeping afterward that he goes up to the roof and he opens up a locked door, which has all of his Daredevil suits hiding. Almost in plain sight, but behind locked door. And he grabs one of the billy clubs and he goes out of the room and he starts practicing with the billy club. Like, listen, you're never going to forget, by the way. Now, Fisk, on the other hand, you can see him eating dinner. But not only is he eating dinner, he's eating dinner with Adam as a prisoner.
That's who that was.
And he's talking to him. Oh, yeah. No, that was him. Absolutely.
I didn't know who that was.
Absolutely.
figure that out.
Now, the other issue is, while we see that, we also see a new character come into play. A character that we've seen some things around the city. And we see a white masked character with diamonds for his eyes and kind of bleeding down the cheek. And for those that don't know, JT was a little shocked. He asked me about it when it happened. This is Muse. Now, Muse is one of Daredevil's biggest adversaries. Okay. As he put it, who is he? I'm like, he's a bad guy. Actually, the exact words I used were, he is a serial killer. We'll get into it. We can see him carrying an unconscious man to his hideout, and he starts draining his blood from his body while he's alive.
Yeah.
And then the credits start to roll. Now,
That was creepy.
I'm
was
sure
creepy.
it was. I'm sure it was creepy because you've never seen him.
Yeah.
Damn ads. Listen, even I get ad revenue. That's why I say
I paused him as long as I could.
That's why I say if you're, you like what we do, subscribe to the channel. You could do so with Twitch Prime. You could do so 3 different ways: $4.99, $9.99, $24.99. But Twitch Prime,
Amazon
you can
Prime, you can do it
subscribe
free for 30 days.
30 days with no ads. It's awesome sauce.
That's what I do.
It's awesome sauce. Just saying. Big Tank says, was this the norm in the comics? Muse as a serial killer? Yes. And we will get into that because the murals that you've seen around town are going to play a big role in the next couple episodes. And I only know this because I've already watched them. So, yeah. But basically what he did, and this is true in the comics, is that he takes the blood and he puts it in the paint. And then he uses the paint as murals because he's an artist. He's an autiste, so to speak. But we'll get into Muse a little bit later because, whew, yeah. Absolutely.
David says that the mural started in the original Netflix series.
They did, absolutely, which is why I said before we even got into Daredevil Born Again, you should watch the first 3 seasons of Daredevil. You don't have to, but you should. Okay? But again, and I gave JT the cliff notes before we even started doing this one, so he's all good. But yes, so that is the end of episode 4 of Daredevil Born Again. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. It's my turn, right? I'm the evens this time.
Mm-hmm.
No joke. Aside from my internal quips that I've already had, this episode, and I'm going right for it, it's a 5. It is a 5 for me.
What?
Yep, it is a 5.
Wow.
The writing alone was absolutely amazing. The internal struggle with Fisk and his crew, amazing. The fact that BB Urich leaked what one of her friends said against Wilson Fisk, awesome. John Bernthal as the Punisher, amazing. And that's not to say that Thomas Jane didn't play a good Punisher. He absolutely did. Same with Ray Stevenson. He absolutely did. Dolph Lundgren, meh. But John Bernthal is this new Punisher. Okay? And again, Marvel does very well with their casting when it comes to characters. Except for Brie Larson, but we won't go there. Anyway, that's a whole different... Yep. out there. But the scene with Frank and Matt alone stole the episode. So yes, I am giving out my first 5, hands down.
We have been doing these show reviews for over 2 years now.
We really have.
And this is the first 5 that Sully has ever given.
So early. So
At
early.
all.
No, I've given some 5s for yeah.
I am the only one that has ever given another 5.
I will have to go back and listen to all of our episodes now. I'm pretty
Well,
sure.
the good part is you only have to listen to the last couple of minutes.
True. Very true. Very true. Indeed.
I got to tell you though, man. With knowing a little bit of the history of Daredevil,
Yep.
knowing his involvement back in Echo, and everything else, this was a great episode.
It really was.
This was a great episode. Real quick, Big Tank gave it a 4.5 out of 5.
Nice.
David says 5 out of 6 was absolutely, or 5 out of 6 were absolutely amazing.
Well,
I'm not sure what he means by that, but
there though.
it was. I mean, the episode was. I loved the counseling session and the dinner session between Vanessa and Wilson.
Yep.
I loved the little conversation that is it Heather? Yeah, Heather and Matt had towards the end of the show.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I found interesting when he went up on the rooftop and was working with the billy clubs and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
At the end, well, almost the end, where they blacked out before they went to the Muse.
Yep.
He's using one of those chain things.
Billy Club.
No, he's using it's on a chain. He started with the billy club.
So that's
then he
part
goes
of it.
to the chain
That's
thing.
part
And
of
he's
his
swinging
Billy
that
Club.
thing around. And how they end that scene was him throwing it
Yeah.
straight at the camera.
Yeah, that's part of his Billy Club. He can actually let that go. It's still attached to him though.
That was freaking amazing. I thought that was the end of the episode, to be honest with you.
Yep.
Because it went, fade, didn't do a fade to black, did it cut to black? I agree with you that the conversation between Fisk and Matt, or Punisher and Daredevil, or Punisher and Red, as Tank likes to say, was the most powerful scene that we've seen in any series in a while.
Yep.
The feels, as people like to say, in this scene were off the scale.
They really
on
were.
both Punisher's side and on Matt's side. They're, 15s out of 10.
Yep.
Love the episode. Great episode. Not quite good enough for me to give it a 5.
All right.
But I'll go with the 4.5.
No
It was
worries.
a great episode. I loved it. You got some history in it. If I would have known that it was Adam that Fisk had locked up in the little mini dungeon down there, it might have brought it up a little bit more.
All right.
But I don't really think it would.
Makes sense.
It might move it up to a 4.6, maybe.
Yeah, makes sense.
But great episode. Love the episode. No pacing problems. The little breakups with the scenes with Fisk and his wife and stuff like that. My other favorite part of the episode was Brady.
Oh yeah.
When he confessed to Fisk that he was the leak.
Yep.
And
Blake
the speech that he gave
was amazing.
Was beautiful.
Yep.
And that's when Fisk started to realize what forgiveness is. However, just because you forgive somebody does not mean that you forget
Right.
what that somebody did.
Absolutely. Now, just to add to it, Big Tank says, wasn't he using Chucks? That was his walking/seeing stick. Yes, but it's still his billy clubs. They connect. They can be nunchucks. He can use them as like a grappling hook. It's all in one. So it's the same exact thing. Like
It
like
did
David
look like a
said
pair
too.
of chucks because the end of it had a blade on it.
Yes. So when so basically what he can do is he can twist it and shoot it out, and it'll use as a grappling hook, and that's how he gets through the city. He swings.
Right.
You know.
It was hard to tell what it was,
Yep.
but it was, it was a heavy object that he was swinging around on a chain.
Oh yeah, and
And
but
that's some serious training to work one of them things.
yeah. So what he can do is, even though he's got two billy clubs, he can connect them. He can extend it. He can fling it. He can do a whole bunch of different things with the billy club. So it's not just, one piece of hardware. It's multiple. And he uses it very well. Very, very well indeed. So, yeah. Yeah, it happens. So, in the long run, folks, in the long run, did you give your rating? I forget.
4.5.
4.5. That's right. I will tell you that this is the end of tonight's episode of Avenger Pretenders. Next week, we're going to work really hard to cover episodes 5 and 6.
Yeah.
Mostly
Bastard did a double episode release on us.
Mostly because this week will be episode 7, and they released 2 last week on us, and we went, shit.
That was putting it nicely.
Yeah.
Because what we said was a lot more colorful than that.
Yes. Yeah. I said F and shit, but that's besides the point. As a matter of fact, when I was watching it, I went, God damn it. Son of a bitch.
David says it was a 2-parter. That's why they
But
did.
it really wasn't. But we'll get into that. So anyway, so next week we'll be talking about 5 and 6 in episode 5 we could probably break down into a half hour. Okay. Episode 6 is going to take a lot longer, but totally worth it. Totally worth it. So other than that, we'll be live tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern, for the Sully Show. So you might want to tell your friends, take the link, share it tomorrow. It's going to be awesome. And as always, for JT the Redneck, there he is. You can't miss him. He's got such a nice smile. Nice smile.
And you can't miss me unless you're on TikTok. But bye, everybody.
He wants them pearly whites. You give him those pearly whites and you're good to go. But for myself, I am the Geek Sully. We will see you all tomorrow at 8 p.m. for the Sully Show. And as always, my friends, you know it as well as I do, Thanos was right.